I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 8, Episode 2 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, slated to come out on April 21st, 2025. And today we are going to hop right into talking about our beer, which is the Founders Blueberry. It is a 12% beer. It is tequila barrel aged with raspberry, Belgian ale, and lime. When one creates a masterpiece, it's not something to be bashful about. Blueberry offers a vibrant fusion of juicy raspberry and tart lime, with a hint of spice and fruity undertones, creating a balanced and layered profile. Aged in tequila barrels, it brings an extra depth that enhances the gold fruit flavors and adds a smooth complexity to every sip. That is the right way to have print on the back of a bottle.
That you can read it and see it.
I can actually read it and see it. My old eyes.
But it's a 12-ounce bottle. They got more room.
It is true. They do have more room. So what's your thoughts on this one?
Overall, I think this is really nice. I'm not sure it's 100% for me in the flavor profile, but I'm also not a big tequila drinker. But I will say, I know this is technically like a beer, but this has the flavor profile of like a cocktail in a can type of deal. Like technically this glass bottle, which you know what I'm talking about, like a pre-mixed cocktail. And it is much better than most of the pre-mixed cocktails that you can get.
Also agreed.
You know,
this doesn't taste like a margarita or anything like that, though. It tastes like something completely of its own.
Yeah, it tastes like a craft cocktail. Like, I could absolutely see me looking at something, because, you know, I generally like the little bit sweeter cocktail and say, oh, that's kind of like a fruitish cocktail. Boom, I'm gonna get that. And got this and be like, okay, that's not bad. I probably wouldn't order a second one, but that's more my personal taste.
Right.
Like, I do want to stress, I think this is really well made. Frankly, it's better than most beers I drink. It is certainly better than probably any pre-mixed cocktail that I've gotten. You know, and it has that type of flavor profile. So, where a lot of times we take a beer like, oh yeah, if you like sweeter beers, you'll like this. You know, if you like, you know, dark stouts, man, the chocolate on this is really good. This is one of those things that I can say, if you like a fruit beer, you'll probably like this. If you like a sour, you'll probably like this. I think the sour aspect is what I like the most about it. But also, like, if you're just the person who likes to have, like, those, like, Seagram drinks and stuff like that in the fridge, like a little pre-mixed, like, malt alcohol cocktail or whatever, this is probably better than those. You know, so go for it.
If you like tequila and lime and fruit.
Yeah, which is a lot of those pre-mixed cocktails. You know, you generally, well, I mean, maybe you do. Maybe I don't notice. But most of the time when I see something, it is like a margarita or like a pina colada or something like that.
But they're not like, it's not really the same flavor. It's like a hint of a pina colada.
Well, yeah, like the pina colada is creamy. Yeah. But I mean, it's sweet, it's fruity, it's got a little bit of sour to it. You know, it's not like, you know, if your cocktail of choice is an old-fashioned, sure, probably not for you if you're getting those like pre-mixed, if they even sell those pre-mixed. But if you're the person getting the spicy margaritas and stuff like that, then this fits into that King
This is absolutely something that if you're getting like a spicy sour margarita, that you want to drink something like this if you're looking for a beer.
Yeah. I no, honestly, I'll say not even if you're looking for beer. I think even if that's your thing,
right?
Even if you don't like beer, you just like to get those like pre-mixed margaritas and stuff like that. I think this does a better job than a premixed margarita with a very similar flavor profile.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times those are just like malt liquor added to a sweet and sour mix and stuff like this. Where this is a fully brewed and crafted drink.
So I just realized I completely said this wrong. It is not a blueberry, it's a blushberry.
Blushberry, okay. Yeah, I was maybe going to comment on that. Not that I knew it was blushberry, but just like it's called blueberry, but it doesn't have blueberry, it has raspberry. Yeah. That's a little weird. But okay, blushberry makes sense.
Blushberry makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, because it's red. Like, yeah.
I think that the color on it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. It is a well-crafted beer. Founders, you know, always, and they've been doing these like weird, you know, like one-offs or whatever. It doesn't taste like it's 12%.
No, it doesn't. In all honesty, I almost think it being in this little beer thing is not a good market for them.
Yeah.
Because, I really do think they could make this at a large scale, put it in a 1.5 liter container, and sell it as some sort of like pre-mixed drink for parties.
Yeah.
And it would go great because I do get those a couple times a year when we're traveling. We'll go up to like Charlotte and we'll go to Great Wolf Lodge, and instead of paying for their alcohol, which is, I mean, it's not bad, but it's also incredibly expensive, we'll bring like 2 or 3 pre-mixed. And the pre-mix are not terrible, but they're not as good as this.
No.
I could bring this and be way happier. And in all honesty, it's probably a pretty similar price point.
Well, let's see. It's 4-pack for like $15.
Yeah, I mean, you're buying those liter heads. So, I mean, you get less volume, I suppose, but it's way better tasting.
Right.
Whereas, like, we'll go in the premix. We won't drink all of it because it's like,
I mean, you could spend 30-40 bucks, have like 12 of these, have a 12-pack essentially.
yeah, exactly.
And, I mean, I get what you're saying. It would be like double the price of like one of the premix bottles, but you're getting a better quality.
Yeah, way better quality.
And you're getting, I think, right around a liter with a 12-pack at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is not the beer that I would. I mean, I've got 4 of them, right? I'm gonna continue to drink them. I'm gonna enjoy them, whatever. I would drink this outside, like after I've been mowing the lawn or something like that, and I can see that like fitting right there. But it's not something that I'm probably gonna like go back and get again. It's a solid Founder's entry. I am not a big. I like margaritas. I'll drink them occasionally and stuff like that. I like tequila. I'll drink it, but bourbon's more my thing.
Yeah.
This captures all the essences of those things, though, of tequila, of lime, of salt. It's like, I mean, it's just like you said. It is like some sort of raspberry tequila cocktail in a pre-bottled, and it's pretty amazing. I'm gushing over it because of how well crafted it is, as opposed to the other things that we got, like that cherry one and the other tequila one that we got last season, that were both from Founders, that we were like, this is not right. This is the opposite of that.
Yeah,
this is
they
like
figured it out in this one.
really, really good. It's also, like you said, not for me, but it is good, and like it's dangerous too. I could see drinking, like 5 of these back to back without thinking about how alcoholic it is.
Yeah, especially if like this is the type of thing you like, because I think we're aligned on that. Like this isn't something I'd probably go out and buy. Whereas like the last one we did, that fruit beer was very much something that I would keep in the house.
Definitely.
I'm just not the target audience here for this. But I know people that like all they do is to buy premixes and stuff like that because it's easy, or they'll buy the regular mix and they'll just pour a thing of tequila into it. And really, I think that's probably closer to the price point, is the people who are buying the mix is already pre-made, but then you have to add your own alcohol.
Right.
Where they would go in and add tequila. That's kind of like a step up. And this kind of fights that, but it is now back to premix. It is all in one. And it does taste good. I can see it on a beach. I can see it, like you said, after like a hard day outside. I think they did a really good job.
If you like this sort of thing, you should get it. You should try it. Even if you don't, get it and try it and just like see what it's all about. Because it's neither of us are not drinking it. It's just not like our favorite thing, right?
Yeah.
I think we should let it warm up too.
Yeah.
Like, drink it down about half a glass, let it warm up, and then see what happens.
Yep. I'm gonna hold on to mine and kind of like heat it up a little bit more.
That's a good idea. So let's get right into it. Today we're talking about handhelds, and specifically the Miyoos. If you don't know what a Miyoo is a company that makes retro gaming handhelds. So they started out with the Miyoo Mini, or actually they had like another one before the Miyoo Mini, but Miyoo Mini was like where they got really popular about a year and a half ago. And then they had the Miyoo Mini Plus. Now they've got the Miyoo A10, A30, sorry, not the Miyoo A10. They've got the Miyoo A30, which is a vertical or a horizontal handheld. Yeah, horizontal handheld. So, screen in the middle, buttons and directional pads on the side. It plays everything up to about PS1. It'll play, I think, 90% of the PS1 catalog. And then they have the Miyoo Flip, which looks exactly like a Game Boy Advance SP. And it will play everything up to PlayStation 1. The Miyoo Flip and the Miyoo Mini Plus and the Miyoo Mini all basically have the same chip inside of them. I think the A30 has a different chip in it. I've taken all of these and put different operating systems on them except for the Miyoo Flip because it doesn't have one that I'm looking for right now. And the other bit of information is, things have quality issues. The Miyoo Flip, evidently the gray version of it, has some sort of weakness in the hinge. Mine hasn't broken. I haven't had any problems with it, but other people have like broken theirs like within the first day. So, just keep that in mind if like you're interested in that one. So I got these 3. Why did I get them? Well, one, because I'm obsessed with stuff like that right now. But two, because I really like the idea of having a clamshell um, form factor thing that's as small as a Game Boy SP, but can
Yeah.
play up to PlayStation 1
Yeah.
and has a decent size and nice screen on it. I have the RG 35XX SP, which is another one, but it's bigger than this. It's actually like significantly bigger. And so that one also is a flip open one. And I just like the vertical handhelds. But the A30 has a 2.8-inch screen versus a 3.5-inch screen, and like 3.5 inches is kind of like my butter zone for these things. So like
Yeah, I can see
I
that.
go back and forth. You took the A30 home
Mhm.
for a week, and you played with it. I think you should take like another one home today, and mess around with it because we'll talk about more
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the Ambernicks and stuff like that. But you took it home. You had some experiences. You had some experiences when you were testing out all these like the other day. But I would be curious just to see what you think about these three in particular, not necessarily anything else.
Yeah, so like I enjoyed all of them when I got to do a little demo of it. Like the flip and the one that looks like the traditional Game Boy,
The Mini Plus.
the Miyoo Mini Plus are both really good. I really liked that A30.
Hmm.
And I think you're 100% right. I do need to take them home and do like an updated review later because that's the one I got to experience the most. But especially because I'm going to be traveling a lot this year. I'm really kind of getting sold on this concept that like I could just have this wonderful little game thing in my pocket. I could just boom pop out whenever I want, no big deal. To that same end, I probably am getting a decent amount of mobile stuff. I might be getting a Steam Deck some point soon
Hmm.
for that same like bunch of traveling. But it is something hard to beat with like, especially because we grew up with this generation, right? Like I can see if you're 18 years old listening to this or something like that, maybe it's a little bit of a harder sell to say go back and play a bunch of Game Boy games and PS1 games. But now it's like it's on my little nostalgia thing. I could just have it in my pocket. That would be perfect for. Do you want to play some Pokemon? Do you want to? I'm probably gonna look through your collection because I think you have one that has like dual sticks, right?
Yeah, the Mii Mini Flip has dual sticks, and a bunch of my Ambernicks ones do.
Yeah, I might have to play with some of that because I'd love to get into like a lot of the PS1 games. Because I didn't have a PS1, so I had a PS2. I played a bunch of PS1 games on it. In fact, like, a lot of the games I loved from my PS2 era are PS1 games.
So I will tell you this: while you
Hmm.
can use analog sticks for most PS1 games, 95% of them only use the directional pad because the PS1's controller didn't come with the dual sticks until later in its life.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because I only ever played it on on a PS2, obviously,
Right.
that had two sticks. But you're right. That's a good point. Maybe they actually will play better with one stick and one in the D-pad.
They're really designed for the D-pad and the face
Okay.
buttons. Most of them are, and
Mhm.
and then some of them don't even hardly use the shoulder buttons. I mean, really, they
Yeah,
had
that's true.
simplified
That's true.
interfaces for the PS1. I love PS1 games. That's my favorite
Mhm.
thing to play on a lot of these systems. So, you know, not saying anything bad about them. But yeah, continue on.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun. They're, I know at some level, right? We're comparing three units, and I do like the form factor of the A30 a little bit better. It feels, I guess it feels a little bit more novel to me in the way that it's set up, because we're like the Mii Mini Plus is a Game Boy, there, and then you got your kind of like essentially your Game Boy Flip. The A30 basically just reminds me of an old school Nintendo controller they slapped a screen in.
Yeah,
Obviously it's got shoulder buttons and stuff like that separately, but it's such a nice little, and it's very slim. Like I just slapped it in my pocket to come over here while also having my phone and my wallet and my external battery because my phone was a little low, all in my pocket at the same time. Fit perfect. You know, in all honesty, my daughter is like really getting into Pokemon, and I think it's a perfect little sized handheld for just boom, let me slap some Pokemon games on there for her.
yeah. I mean, that's really kind of what it's like.
Hmm.
The A30 is like a little great Pokemon machine. I mean, for that matter, any of these are. They're
Yeah.
they're they're
Oh
pretty
yeah.
awesome for
All of
that.
them would be great. I
Yeah,
didn't dislike any of them.
yeah.
I'm really falling in love with this technology, both as like the various models, because they all do feel distinct. I think that's another thing that's also very important. Is at the end of the day, like you said, a lot of these have like the same chipset, and obviously they probably all have different price points. But I think everybody has that form factor that like clicks for them.
Right.
and they've got them. You know, like if you like I grew up with the original Game Boy, but I also had like the original Nintendo, and that was my main console for a long time because I missed a bunch of generations. I went from the original Nintendo to the N64,
Hmm.
then to PlayStation 2. You know, so like I missed a lot of the consoles in between.
Hmm.
So I think there is probably some bias to that. Like, oh, this looks just like a Nintendo controller. It's the same size, kind of the same feel, and this is what I remember getting into gaming with. Whereas for other people, that's going to be the Flip. That's going to be the Game Boy Advance. That's going to be the, you know, I'm sure there's some that kind of look like PSPs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, there are.
Yeah.
They generally are like higher end, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there are ones that are like more in the PSP realm. Well, this one kind of is like a Nintendo controller in a PSP shape almost. Like,
Yeah, kind of.
but
Yeah,
then
it's
you look
almost
at
a
the
little.
PS Vita and you've got like a bunch that are like kind of shaped like the Vita,
Yeah.
with like slightly different backs on them and stuff like that. Some of them have the exact same shell though, as a
Mm-hmm.
Vita. So in the end, we've reviewed the Miyoo Mini before. These all have about the same, performance to them.
Yeah.
I love the Miyoo Mini because it not because it's a Game Boy handheld, but because it is compact and it fits really well in my bag. I can throw it in its case, throw it in the bag. I'm not looking for something to go in my pocket.
Yeah.
If I want something to go in my pocket, though, that changes the talk. There might be an Ambernick device that I actually prefer more than any of
Mm-hmm.
these because the as much as I like that A30, the A30 screen is just a little too small for me to read
It
like
is a little
text
small.
for
Yeah.
like a lot of things, and I'm just an old man at this point,
That's actually a really good point because like I was playing some of the racing games on there and stuff like that because I didn't have a lot of time. And you're right; those were not text heavy games.
Right.
So, so I can see that it is certainly a smaller screen than the other two.
Something like Pokemon's going to work because it was made for like a Game Boy, and
Mm-hmm.
those had smaller screens too. There's another Ambernick device that I got. That's the RG34XX. That is uses a Game Boy Advance, the classic Game Boy Advance, the vertical one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the that I keep saying vertical. I meant the horizontal one, not the vertical one. The classic Game Boy Advance. That one is feels just like a Game Boy Advance. It runs really well, anything up to PlayStation 1, but its screen
Mm-hmm.
is like 3.4 inches and it's just a little bit smaller than 3.5 inches. You wouldn't think that'd make a big difference, but playing like anything above Game Boy Advance
Mm-hmm.
gets a little hard sometimes because the the screen that a PlayStation game is meant to be on is like a um, a big 40 inch or 32
Yeah.
inch or something like that, right? When you're talking about a 3.4 inch, the text on it's much smaller. But if you've got a game that's made for like a Game Boy or Game Boy Advance, the
Mm-hmm.
text was bigger. So the font of it really matters as to what games work really well on these things. All that said, if you don't need to look at text a whole lot, they work really great, and the text like is readable on like racing games and stuff like that. So like, your mileage varies on what you want, and if you got really great eyesight, it doesn't matter anyways because you can read
Yeah.
it. So eat your carrots. Um, but yeah, so there's no like clear winner here. I think the one that we've talked about the least is the Flip,
Mm-hmm.
and if you they're supposedly fixing the hinge problem. So if you're looking to get one of these and you're interested in a Game Boy Advance SP style thing, I actually kind of like the Flip more than the Game Boy. I'm sorry, than the RG35XX SP. It's smaller, it's more compact, and it's more pocketable. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's the one that I probably would throw in my pocket and carry with me if I was choosing a Miyoo one, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the screen to get scuffed up in my
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking at something like a more, you know, like I'm gonna travel and I just want something to be able to play, I really love the Miyoo Mini Plus. Like I like the Miyoo Mini, that's great, it's awesome. And the Miyoo Mini Plus and the Miyoo Mini work the same. But the Miyoo Mini Plus has Wi-Fi connectivity. It does retro achievements. It does all these things, and
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like all that stuff. Plus, with Wi-Fi on some of the like alternate operating systems, you can get game backup. So you can back them up to
Oh,
like
nice, nice.
SyncThing or Dropbox or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, and then you could have like the same save game across like multiples of these
Yeah.
consoles.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so like I kind of like that idea and like being able to tinker with that. I did some like playing around with that over the break, and I kind of that makes these three the go-to Miyuus for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I was gonna just choose one though, I think you've already solidly said right now it'd be the A30 for you.
Probably, but in all honesty, I might take the flip one home with me and try that out because I think you do make a really good point. It's a larger screen, and you need to play some text games, and it is, at the end of the day, there's no sensitive components exposed.
Right.
So for me, it would mostly be for travel or for a kid, also something that needs lots of protection.
Right.
So yeah, I can see that. I might try that one.
And they're all within about $20 of each other. Mm-hmm. Well, I think the biggest disparity is between the A30 and the Flip. I think the A30 is like $40. The Miyoo Mini Plus now is like somewhere between $50 and $60, and the Flip is like somewhere between $60 and $80. I'm not 100% sure what the price point for each of them is because that fluctuates and tariffs are going to affect all that stuff. So
yeah,
well, I don't know. I don't want to quote exactly how much, but the Flip is the most expensive of the three.
Gotcha.
The Flip, though, I think you're right. It's a bigger screen. It does better. It's almost the same size screen as the Miyoo Mini Plus. I think it is a 3.4, 3.5 inch screen or something like that. It's just better all the way around. And the form factor of it is a little bit more comfortable to hold in the hand. If you want to play like a game single-handed, like you're playing a role-playing game or something like that, it makes it a little bit better for that. It's harder to do that on the A30. And I thought the A30 would be my favorite because I do generally like a horizontal handheld.
Yeah.
Like the Game Boy Advance was my favorite handheld up until the Steam Deck that came out. And that's like my favorite now. And later on, we're going to like kind of look at a Game Boy Advance because I've got a modded one that I keep here that I love. And I'll pull out every now and then, and it'll play everything up to Game Boy Advance games, and I love it. But the Game Boy or the RG3 4XX is also like a great thing, and the A30 is a great thing, and they all kind of are the same form factor. I've had a couple of those over the last year, and that is kind of my preferred form factor for these sort of like handhelds that I'm going to spend a lot more time like playing on.
Yeah.
So these three are like my quick. I'm just going to pull something out, or I'm on a plane and I don't have a lot of room. I'm a big dude getting stuffed into a thing. The Steam Deck's just a little bit too big.
It is a little large. Yeah.
I know that we have a friend who listens to this podcast that dude, I know you're right. Like, you're a big dude too, and you can sit on the plane and play it. I always end up having like some sort of comfort issue, so it like makes it hard for me to play it on a plane.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. I kind of agree on that. It'd be great for the hotel room, especially if you like bring the dock with you and stuff like that. You can hook up to the TV and everything like that. Yeah, would be great. You're right. I'm not 100% sold on something that large for the plane.
But I can take out any of these and.
Oh yeah, I mean it's smaller than your cell phone that you're going to use for music and stuff.
Right, exactly. And I mean, we're going to talk about that. Am I going to use my cell phone for music?
That's true.
Because I may not. I've got gadgets that allow for me for that. Maybe you'll take one of those home with you and mess around with it. So yeah. But anyways, we're not saying you should get any one of these. But if you are interested in getting one of those, the person that likes the vertical handheld can't go wrong with the Miyoo Mini Plus. The person that likes a clamshell handheld can't go wrong with, well, maybe you want to wait until they fix the hinge problem, but once they've done that, you can't go wrong with the Miyoo Mini Flip. The person that likes the horizontal handheld can't go wrong with the A30.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just up to your like preference. So anyways, do you have anything that you want to say about the consoles?
No, I think they're good. At probably some point near the end of the season, we'll give an update on the one I traveled with.
Yeah, we definitely will. Well, because we're going to travel during our little bit of a break, I think.
Yeah.
So, like, when we come back, we'll be able to say, hey, we did this, this, and this with them. Because I'll be traveling again, and I'm going to pick probably a different one than I've carried in the past.
Yeah.
All right, let's revisit the beer because I had a sip of it, and it's warmed up, and I think it does taste different.
Oh, yeah, it definitely tastes different. Mine at this point is fairly warm. I've been sipping it through the whole warming process. It hits more of a traditional, like, fruit beer or sour sort of flavor profile. I think you kind of lose the tequila some. You lose the woodiness of the barrel some, too.
But it gets a lot more salt.
It does get a little bit saltier, but not to an extreme degree. Not to the point that, like, I think the salt and the lime mix so well, it kind of just becomes one flavor.
Yeah.
So I'll say it's versatile. I do like it better cold because I think cold, you get that like premix sort of feel to it that I think it really rocks really well. When it's warmer, it's still a good fruit beer, but it does lose the things that I think made it very unique when it was cold.
I agree. I think cold is the way this beer is meant to be
Mhm.
served. It's the best way it should be served. Drink it cold. Don't drink it. Don't drink it warm. Um, you want to say anything else about that?
No, I mean, good beer. Like I said, I probably won't buy some, but if anything that we've said sounds good to you, you should try it because it is incredibly well crafted.
Yeah, and then tell us what you thought of it. So, well, thank you so much for listening. This has been season 8, episode 2 of the Beer and Broadband podcast. It's slated to come out on April 21st, 2025. We've finished our beers now, and so it's time for us to sign off. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.